I'm sitting outside of Wolf Ranch, or in Wolf Ranch, outside of Just Love Coffee, north of Austin, Texas, in Georgetown. And right now, we've got a farmer's market that's happening. I'm going to show you. Georgetown is one of the fastest growing cities in the United States because they're doing stuff like this. That's not the reason why. Because it's generally a pretty good deal to live near Austin, and it's north where it's easy travel to a lot of companies and a lot of facilities, versus if you go south Austin, sometimes you feel a little disconnected. Anyway, so today we're doing true prices like always on my channel. Thank you so much for watching. If you've never been here before, I go by Ian of Austin everywhere on the internet. So the reason why I have this series is because a lot of people don't understand how pricing works in the Austin, Texas area, or in Texas in general, when they're looking to buy or sell their home. So sellers, please pay attention to this. It's going to be really, really important when you're looking at hiring a realtor to run comps and to price your home for you. So right off the bat, over on the left, you see I am in the Austin MLS. And so the first thing I want to talk about is this status over here. Before we pull up any of this information, I want to make sure that I have the status of active, under contract, pending, and closed check. The reason why I want closed is because that's what's going to give us some concrete data on what has actually sold. Everything else has started to sell, or someone's put it on the market, but it hasn't actually sold. So that's all arbitrary information. You can see the competition based on who has something listed as active, but you can't see what is actually closed unless you check that box. And so I'm just going to do for the last 30 days in this neighborhood. I'm only focused on single family residential. This also includes new construction homes. Mostly, there's a variable in there. Next, I'm choosing this particular subdivision, Wolf Ranch. So before I go too far, I want to show you I'm not selecting any other criteria. I only received 63 matches. Actually, that's quite a bit. But let's look first at the map and see what area we're actually referring to when I say Wolf Ranch. Because sometimes it pulls an area that is not the same. Here's a great example. This house that's over here all by its lonesome shouldn't count in this data. Right, let me zoom out and see if any other outliers like that. Because that sometimes happens. You might have a smaller subdivision that they're calling Wolf Ranch, right? And it doesn't really count. Here's another great example. So Wolf Ranch is separated by Highway 29. So you actually have two different sides of the highway where it's Wolf Ranch on one side and it's a different type of Wolf Ranch on the other. So they're trying to act like it's all one community, but there's often different HOAs, different schools, and different community amenities. So you got to be careful with that. When you say Wolf Ranch, oftentimes people are referring to the area, not necessarily a particular subdivision. So that's always interesting. And based on where you are where you are in Wolf Ranch, like I said, you're going to have different property taxes. Okay, different property tax rates and different HOA. So I'm going to just click on a couple of these and take a look real quick. So like this one's sold right here. All right, so I'm going to click in here and see what we get. So this 300 Blue Blaze Trail. So watch. So right now we're looking at 605 semi-annually. So I'm assuming that that's half a year. So $1,200 a year HOA, 2.6 tax rate. I'm just going to hit next and go over to the next property. See what we get. Right here, 544 semi-annually, 2.7 property tax rate. Okay, so that's kind of what I wanted to show you. Also, it's going to affect the price per square foot. It's going to affect the year built, because what they do is they build these in phases. So now let's look at agent single line, which is going to show me a little more of the data, but in spreadsheet format, right? So the next thing I want to do is, right now it's 1 to 63. I have all 63 available. I'm going to run through what the columns mean real quick. I'll keep it short. If you've seen any of my other videos, you already know what these columns are, so sorry, not sorry. But first you start off with the status, which is active in this case. In most of these, the area is Cedar Park, Leander for some of them, and some are Georgetown West. That is vital when you're looking at houses, because that already means there's going to be different school districts, different tax rates, everything. So when you're looking at properties and you don't understand how the zone is applied to that home, that could really throw off your numbers when you think you're going to get, $800,000 per house, but it's really only worth $500,000 because the schools are rated poorly, even though that's subjective. You see what I mean? Okay, so address. This is the address. Number of full beds, or number of beds, full baths, half baths, and garage spaces. So sometimes you'll see 3, 4, 5 car garages. Levels is just stories. So is it a single story? Is it a 2-story? And then year built. Generally, general rule of thumb, because it is, of this recording, it's March 2024. That means if it's 2024, it's probably a new construction home, especially new construction active on the market, so a builder home, right? Versus if it's 2018 and it's active, chances are that home hasn't been sitting here from 2018 until now. So that's how you'd look at that. So it's probably a resale home. Even if it's 2023. So this home was listed in 2023. It's hard to tell. It's been on the market 110 days, so more than 3 months, which means last year. So it really could be a new construction that just hasn't been sold. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay, and where are we at? Garage levels, so stories, year built. Acres is the size of the yard. Your square footage, the list price of the home, the list price per square foot. So if it's listed at $590 and it's 2886 square feet, that makes it $204 per square foot. Okay, and then you notice these are blank. I'll come back to those. Days on market and then cumulative days on market. So here's a great example. This Belford Street went on the market and went off the market, and currently it's on the market for 37 days. So that means maybe the buyer couldn't obtain financing, maybe, right? Maybe they backed out during option period. Maybe something else happened. Maybe there was foundation repair, roof repair. Who knows? But all that to say, it's been on the market almost 140 days at this point, but you're only seeing 37 days, right? So that's when you see back on market. That's a good indication of that. All right, and the last thing I want to show is here. So you notice how the closed price per square foot and closed price are filled in. It's because you have to close to get that data. And this is where appraisers are going to look and seasoned realtors are going to look, and people, and a lot of the times your Zillows and your Trulias and your Redfins of the world should be considering this information heavily. So here's a great example right here. I'm going to use this as the example moving forward. So list price per square foot is $211, but it closed at $200 a square foot, which means they asked $529 for it. They received $500 for it. That is so vital because so many people call me and they're like, "Oh, what are they asking for this house?" I was like, "Well, what can you afford, right? What are you actually going to offer? It doesn't matter what they're asking if you can't afford it. And if you can afford it, then submit the offer that makes sense to you for the value of the house." I just feel like it's bad negotiation. That's all. Like, what do you want to offer? Just offer me something. I'll tell you if it's fair or not, or if I enjoy it. And then we can have that conversation. We can go back and forth. So if you see a house, just because you see that number, don't get too caught up in it. Okay, I think this is good base information. Let's look at the map again. I'm going to tighten up the map, and I'm going to stick to one side. I'm going to stick to the older side of Wolf Ranch. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to draw a polygon here. I'm just going to go like this. Okay, and I'm only going to do this side of Wolf Ranch, right? Because this is a different neighborhood, the homes over here. So like you might have your Toll Brothers, Dries is over here, your Guillen is over here, and on this side you might have like your Lennar, maybe some D.R. Horton, maybe some Sitterly is over here. So you have just completely different buildings. That's why I wanted to separate them. Now let's look at the data. That's dropped us to 20 exactly, and it gives us much tighter numbers. And so the next thing I want to do is, while I'm sitting here, I might as well get an average of the price per square foot, right? So I'm going to pull up one of my handy dandy AI tools. I love Merlin here. I'm using a Chromebook, so it moves a little slower than I'd like, especially when it's hot outside like this. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to access the web, Turbo, GPT-4. Okay, so now I'm going to say, I want this particular website, not just the web. I've got it. Yeah, chat with this webpage. Great. So, and I do this all the time. I love doing this. So I'm going to say, what's the average? Let's just go with average for the moment. What's the average list price, LP, per square foot? What's the average list price per square foot? I think I can just do that. Let's just do that. Let's see if it figures it out. There we go. Let's pull in the numbers. Give me some information. Great. So we're looking at 267. And I didn't include any rows, like I didn't just include the rows of closed. So now I'm going to say, what are the closed rows? And then what are the active rows? Right? Because what I want to do is find the difference. Just because all these people listed their homes at a higher list price per square foot doesn't mean they're going to get it. So now I'm going to say, what's the average? List price per square foot, rows 1 through 13. Okay, give me that. Get out of here, Merlin's first birthday. All right. It's actually the same, isn't it? That's really funny. Okay, so that's for rows 1 through 13. And then I'm going to do rows 14 through 20. Through 20. Okay. Now remember, these aren't all closed, but they have gone under contract. The purpose of this is to show you the difference. Active, $267 a square foot, and pending and closed gives you $246 a square foot. This tells you how realistic people are when they're listing their homes for sale, like where they're pricing it at. Because you have all these people that are putting their homes on the market now at the beginning of the spring market, and they're like, oh no, I want this much. I don't mind if it sits. And then we wonder why homes are sitting for 108, 204, 39, 86 days on market, right? And just because it sat for that many days on market doesn't mean you're actually getting that. In both cases, the numbers are quite substantially different. So let's look at this one. This 404 Wolf Ridge was listed at 245, closed at 219. Now, there's a caveat to that one. That particular one closed recently, but it's a 2023, which means it's a new construction. And here's what throws that off. You have these new construction homes that the builder lists, and then they say, well, we're going to give these incentives, and then they drop the price, and then they drop the price. And so now you have the price or the incentives that come down, and that's how you end up with such a low price per square foot. See what I mean? And it still took almost 3 months for that to happen. Okay, hopefully this was really good information. If you are looking for anything else like this, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. Hopefully I brought you some value and I didn't go too far, too deep, or maybe I didn't go deep enough and you want more. But this was Georgetown, Texas, the Wolf Ranch subdivision, kind of true prices in the Austin, Texas area. I'm very happy that you were able to sit here and spend some time with me. Appreciate you very much. I'm Ian of Austin. Thank you so much. Catch you later.